Greetings to you all, our viewers and listeners across the world, and welcome to our weekly archival conversations brought to you by Trans and Intersex History Africa, TIHA. My name is Victor Mukasa, and I am your regular host for these conversations. At TIHA, we are dedicated to documenting, preserving, and celebrating the histories of trans, and those are the histories and experiences and contributions of trans and intersex people from across Africa and the diaspora. We have created a space where we share our archival collections, memories, all the experiences, and that is on our website that you see running down on the screen. We also keep these archival conversations on our YouTube channel, Trans and Intersex History Africa. When you look for that, you will find us. Now, as usual, we have a very, very important guest in our studio today. Our guest hails from the beautiful country of Botswana, a human rights defender and activist who has done tremendous work on the continent for decades. Please help me welcome Skipper Mogapi. Skipper Mogapi is a dedicated human rights defender working on queer rights, trans rights, and intersex rights. And it's very important to note that. He is a pioneering human rights defender with over 2 decades of leadership in queer and trans activism. He is the founder of Rainbow Identity Association, RIA, in Botswana, and that is Botswana's first and only trans-led, mark that, and only trans-led organization. He is also part of the founding of Lega Bibo, lesbian, gays, and bisexuals of Botswana, and that shows, and that is in decades behind that he will tell us. Skipper has been very instrumental in advocating for the rights, visibility, and dignity of trans and gender diverse people in Botswana, not only in Botswana, but across Southern Africa. Their work spans legal advocacy, psychosocial support, because he works with communities, and movement building, making them a vital voice in regional and international human rights spaces. Welcome to the TIHA Archival Conversations, comrade Skipper Mogapi. Say hi to our viewers and listeners.
Thank you so much, Victor.
Yeah. And if I haven't done justice to that introduction, please feel free to add something.
Okay. Just clarity that we, as a Rainbow Identity Association, we are the first and we remain to be the only trans and intersex organization, but there are trans organizations in the country. Yeah.
Oh, we get it. But Ria was the first
Yes.
at combining both trans and intersex.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
very typical of you, Skipper, because I have met you in another life in the corridors of activism, and indeed you have always wanted to be inclusive of intersex people in whatever you do, and I salute you for that, comrade, for keeping it forward. Now, bro, today we are going to talk about your work, if you don't mind sharing with our viewers and listeners. But as part of the conversation today, one main issue we would like to address is the first and perhaps only trans and intersex pride that we have had on the continent, the entire block of Africa, which was initiated by you and Ria. And we will take some time talking about that. Viewers and listeners, Skipper is the initiator of the first trans and intersex pride in Africa. But before we get that, for people to know where you have come from, Please tell us about the founding of these two organizations. And you are part of Legabibo. You were one of the key activists in Legabibo. And how do we see you now again founding these other organizations, probably in the same city, in the same country, in the same region? Please start from there, my brother.
Thank you so much, Victor.
Yeah.
I started my activism way back, and I think as you were doing the introduction, you actually uh, outed my age. Um, yeah. Um, I started my activism immediately when I finished my high school, which here we call it, or in South Africa, they will say it's a metric.
Metric.
And this is where I experienced most of my challenges in the education system.
Right.
And once I finished, I said, I'm not going to keep quiet, but rather I'll speak for those who come behind me, so that they don't also go through the challenges that I went through. So I
Right.
started engaging with an organization which was an LGBT organization, the only one, which is at that time was called Lekhabibo, Lesbians, Gays, Bisexuals of Botswana. And I came in as I think I was the youngest,
Mm.
among all the members who were there at that point, and most of them were a bit matured, and also they were employed, and I was just off school. And when I joined, they there was a time that they wanted somebody to go and speak on radio,
Hmm.
and at that time many people were still closeted, and they could not go on radio to speak about LGBT issues. So
Hmm.
myself and a friend, we went on radio and speak about LGBTI rights in Botswana. Yes, there were fears of what if we get out of the studio and people are outside waiting for us.
Right.
So these showed the braveness of the two of us who stood up for the entire country to speak about LGBTI for the first time on radio.
Yes.
And as time goes on, I could feel that my issues were not really addressed by the organization that I was serving. And
By the time you joined Legabibo, were you already identifying as a trans person?
no, as I joined Le Habibo, the language, you must also remember that when you are just off school, there is no such language in terms of LGBTI. You don't even know what that really means.
Right.
So, or you've not even heard of the language.
Yes.
So, but when you are sitting around the table and people are talking about, and at that time I wasn't even dating, I didn't even know what lesbian really mean or
Right.
gay really mean. It
Mhm.
was me finding myself different from people who are of my same age. So the language was totally a different thing. But when I started now engaging with the
Legabibo.
movement in the region, I started now learning the language. However, learning the language also made me realize that with Lekhabibo, we're speaking a different language from what how I see myself and how I want to be viewed.
Right.
And I then started the support group of people who identifies as how I see myself.
Right.
And that's when Area was born. That was 2008 when we started the support group.
Okay.
And this support group used to meet at my house, at the park, um, and would discuss issues that affect ourselves. Although we did not have the language how we see ourselves, and but we understood who we are and what exactly that mean to us
Right.
without the influence of the North telling us that this is how you should. When you feel like this and you identify as like this then mean this,
Right.
and we continued to have that support group. And in 2010 December, we got the registration. And when we got the registration, for us, it was a celebration that we needed to celebrate that
And
we
that
are,
was rare.
yes,
Oh,
Rea got registration. At that time, Lehabibo was not legally registered still.
wow.
Um, and at some point, maybe to take you back why RIA took long to get registered from 2008 to 2010, it
Yeah.
is also because I was the litigant for Le Habibo case, and I also applied for the registration for RIA. So the registry assumed that I want to register Le Habibo with a
Like people.
different yes. So I had to withdraw from Le Habibo case, and there were back and forth in terms of the recommendation of or the criteria
Hmm.
of to register an entity, because Le Habibo was denied registration on the basis that they are advocating for what it is assumed to be illegal. So
Yeah, the name was so bold.
yes. So
Yeah.
when I applied for the registration for RIA, I was also asked to come and present my case. So I had to go there, and there was a panel. So with that panel, because I looked different from the time that I I joined Le Habibu. So it was an issue of this is the person, and this is the ID, and this is what Rainbow Identity serve to address. And that is why now they got confused and they said, yo, we never knew this really exists. So therefore, we then later got the registration uh, uh, as an NGO,
An NGO.
and this was 2010 in December.
Right.
And the very same year, we then said, as a form of celebration, we
Mhm.
also need to also have a commemoration that speaks to trans and intersex persons, so that the country, if not the world, must also appreciate that trans and intersex people exist. And
Right.
this was simply because the trans and intersex persons have always been the forefront of the gay pride,
Right.
and they were not recognized as trans or as intersex persons, but they were recognized as gays and lesbians. But with this pride, we said we want the whole world to know that trans and intersex people do exist, and um, we will forever be there, because even if you walk in,
Right.
you see the expression
Right.
before you could see the sexual orientation.
Exactly.
Yes.
So like the celebration was for a pride for Botswana that we don't have yet a pride for we don't have a pride yet that is the first in Africa for uh, we register that as the first trans pride,
Mm.
even if it was just for like a people. I mean for
Rare.
organized by RIA for
Yeah.
Botswana.
Yeah.
You understand? And
Yes.
we have read some history that has not been documented yet, that there was once a pride in Botswana for
Mm,
Africa.
yes.
How do we get to that point? Because I believe you are the initiator of that as well.
Yes. When
So the
we
first,
we
sorry, let me take you back a bit. The first trans pride, trans and intersex pride in Botswana and therefore in Africa was in 2010.
2010, yes.
Which month was that, Skipper?
It was 2010 November.
November.
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
It was 2010 November, and the reason why we pushed it to November was also for the fact that November is a month for trans remembrance.
Right,
So this was also coined around the celebration of Trans Day of Remembrance,
right.
and we with the limited resources, we invited the trans organizations from the SADC. So
That
we had
Southern Africa. For
yes, we had
don't get
from the SADC. When I say SADC, it's Southern African countries. So
okay.
we invited Zambia, we invited Zimbabwe, we invited South Africa, Namibia, yes, and I mean, based on the fact that there was limited resources, we wished to invite the entire continent for this history that we did
Yeah,
made in 2010, but we were challenged by
resource.
resources.
Right. And at that point, is that the point where you begin to think of continental pride?
Yes, after the celebration, we then thought that maybe we need to put our heads together and do
Mhm.
a continental pride that we can have the African trans and intersex pride.
Right. Has
Yeah.
it happened?
Not yet, not yet, because as you see right now, we are trying to move forward,
Mhm.
and there are backlashes as you see
Right.
now.
Across the
The America is pushing us back when we are thinking we are moving forward,
right,
then they are moving us backwards.
right.
So these are some of the challenges that we experience.
But it is something that you still want to build on and seek
Yes.
support for and mobilize for.
This is what we still want to continue because we feel that they still need every year you'll find that there is a gay pride every year.
That's right.
However, for the trans and intersex pride, it's rare to find, if not there, if nothing at all, you know. So
There is a
for us,
statement
it's
that you
something.
made about those trans pride. I mean, those
The gay,
LGBTQ
yeah.
plus prides. There's a statement you made that I would like you to say again. That when you look at pride, the first thing you
Mm.
see, you said identity
Yes, the first thing
before.
that you see, it's the identity before you. Actually the first thing that you see is the expression
Right,
before the sexual orientation,
right.
because how people express themselves.
Mhm.
Some express themselves feminine, some masculine, some as gender non-conforming,
Yes.
and we then term it to be gay pride.
Mhm.
However, and we continue to say gay pride, but the people who are in the forefront, they are not saying I'm sexually attracted to so and so, but they
Yeah.
are showing us what we term to be gender.
Yes. They're saying, this is me. This is how I look. This is how I
Yes,
express myself. This is my identity.
yes.
That's very powerful, and I think that it is the case with the movement. Even when you look at the anti-gay laws that are being passed in different countries in Africa, you realize that the first target are the face of the movement, and still those are trans people. They
Yes.
may not be called anti-trans laws, but
Mm.
they're called anti-gay laws to target
Yes.
trans people automatically
Yes.
by default. So that was a very very deep thing that you explained there. Skipper, what should we expect in the next few years? When should we expect Pride? Because it looks like we are going to look at you and your leadership in this to lead us to follow you and do exactly what you have planned for this big dream. I think we need it. I think we want it and we love it.
Yes. Yes, we really want to see the Pride go viral as how we see now the Gay Pride. We
Right.
see there's African Gay Pride that it's all over the continent now. We are seeing even countries that we knew that it's very rare to find openly LGBTI. We are now seeing them commemorating the Gay Pride.
Right.
So we also want to see the trans and intersex persons also commemorating and to be celebrated.
Yeah.
But the challenge that we are faced with is, you know, it's donors saying that why do the division, and
Yeah.
not understanding that, for many years the trans community has supported the gay community
Hmm.
and have rallied behind the LGBT community for a very long time.
Right.
However, when
Mm.
it's time to give back to the trans and the intersex community, it
Mm.
becomes very difficult, and you are told that you are dividing the movement, which for me pains me. That
Mm.
when you say scratch my back, I scratch your back, and when it's time for me to say scratch my back, you ask me if I have a back. So it hurts. Yeah, it hurts that
That-
we know people have got back, but we
mhm.
don't have back
Yeah.
when it's
Yeah.
our turn.
When it.
So donors, partners need to also understand that, we may be in the similar boat, but we need to also they need to also understand that the needs and the different the needs and the needs and the wants that we have are totally different from the other community. Hence, there is need to support and say, when we say we want to be visible and acknowledge as who we are,
Yes.
what do we mean?
Hmm.
And we don't want someone putting a placard on our face to say, yes, you existed, but right now we'll speak on your behalf. We've long had that conversation speaking on
Right.
our behalf,
Hmm.
and it's time now that we put on our shoes and we are able to run our race.
Right. Well, Skipper, thank you so much. But before you go, I know that your schedule is very tight. But before you go, you mentioned that first Pride had people from across Southern Africa, and I believe South Africa was one of them. And I believe that my teammate Lizo Teron was one of them. We have her backstage. If she could just
Mm.
come in, if Lizo, please studio, if you could bring in Lizo for just a second, just for you and Skipper to talk me through this. And Lizzo, before you start, to you, Skipper, I read somewhere that there was Pride on November 24th in 2012, Trans Pride. Have they been two Prides? Because the one that Skipper you're mentioning was in 2010, you say, right?
Mm.
Yeah,
Mm.
please make a clarification on that. But the most
Yes,
important thing is that
there,
we were both
you
at
know,
Pride.
Yes, after the 2010, we
Yes.
then, because we initially wanted to make it annually.
Ah,
So after that, we kept on asking for resources so that we have it annually. As
ah,
we celebrate it this year, the following year we are able to commemorate it. However, after 2012, we then could not get resources. We then thought of another way of making trans and intersex visible, and we did sports, and we came up with a concept called soccer and gender, where we brought people of different age and different identities to play soccer. And this also was one of its first in the continent,
wow.
if not in the region, that we bring people of different age. It doesn't matter what sexual orientation, what sex, what gender you identify as, but to play soccer. And when we play soccer, we were also sharing these terminologies, how I identify and how I want you to address me. And this also was inspired by the fact that most of the trans and intersex people are very talented,
Right.
especially when it comes to sports.
Mhm.
But if you look at the globe, how we treat trans and intersex in sports,
Yes.
this is where we find that there is a gap. And we felt that since the globe is neglecting our own community, why not make our own? And
Yes.
that's why we then came up with the concept. So the 2010 Pride has given birth to a lot of things that we continue as a rare. If we
Yes.
can't go big as we wanted to go big, but
Yes.
come up with something that would benefit our own community and reach out to the people that we want the message to reach to.
Right. Well, that's wonderful. We need to talk more pride even after that because we want your leadership to take us somewhere. Lizzo, welcome back from the first Trans Pride in Africa in 20. Did you attend the 2010 or 2012?
I attended the 2012 one.
Yes, just for you, what is your best memory out of there while Skipper is here?
It was great for me. I remember that time, as Skipper mentioned, the invitations to the different SADC countries, and therefore I was still at that time at Gender Dynamics, so it was in that position or role that I attended it.
Right.
And it was great because it did not only had the march through the strip, which is a little bit a small scale, but there was even, I remember at one university, I think it was in a room with seats that go so down, we had like academic people and people from different stakeholders had
I think that there's a glitch on Lizzo's side.
Mm.
Skipper, do you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Lizel is on pause.
and so it was really a great experience because it really, and what struck me at that time, I mean, we speak here of 2012, was the combination of trans and intersex. We didn't see
Yeah.
that yet, besides the exchange program, which was a complete different other project.
Yeah.
But
Mm.
in organizational work,
Mm.
I think as an activity to public, that was really one of the very first times that you could see an organization pull through that language, not only say it.
Yes.
Because I think at that time Skipper TIHA already existed as well, right? But
Yes.
they were very small in certain areas of South Africa
Mm.
only, whereas this RIA Pride, which claiming trans and intersex, was basically definitely for the whole country, and then with invitations to SADC. So that was really something that stood out for me way back.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very, very interesting. And I think that Skipper has had that vision from when he was young, because I remember a young Skipper still fighting,
Very young.
not only for trans people, but for also intersex people. And it's just, I respect you for that, Skipper. And your vision and leadership will take us somewhere. I am going to be on your case, asking you where I'm going to go for the next African Trans Pride. I'll be on your case, and if
We're
it
gonna
means all of
motivate
us
you.
rallying behind you, us mobilizing ourselves and seeking those resources together lead
Mm.
us, and we have to do this. We have to claim our space
Yeah.
in this aspect. But I thank you so much, Skipper. And for viewers out there, Skipper has been here when he was little up to now, and he is still doing amazing work, as you have heard. Today's show was focusing on the trans pride, the first in Africa, but one day we will bring Skipper to tell more of his story, because it is an inspiring one, it is an encouraging one, and also a very big story of resilience, which I think younger people need to listen to, because he can tell when he was young, he will tell you as how he got to where he is. And Skipper, we request that one day you come back here for a big story of yours, for the sake of our young people in Africa, those present and those not yet born. Respect and keep your story well. For everybody else, please show up next Friday. We will have another phenomenal show with another big activist or storyteller from the continent. There's a lot about Africa and the trans and intersex movement that we need to share, that we need to preserve, that we need to protect. So I thank you so much, everyone. I'll see you in the studio, Alizo and Skipper. Salute to
Thank you
all
so
our
much.
viewers and listeners. Au revoir.
Thank you